Yo, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. We greatly appreciate you guys being here today. In this video, we are going to be going over the sword mastery tree in New World. New World recently revamped all of the weapon mastery trees in the game, and we're going to start this off by going over the sword mastery tree in this video. Before we do, though, I want to kind of read one little part of this that applies to all the mastery trees, because I think it's pretty important for you guys to know. It says that they have increased the total mastery choices per weapon from 32 to 38, which allows for even more option to tailor your fighting style. So that means that you really have only six more abilities per weapon, but those are like passive abilities or passives that attach to your active abilities. So it's not they didn't add like six more active abilities to each weapon. So just wanted to throw that out there. So let's take a look at the sword tree real fast. So we have sword. They renamed the two mastery lines from sword and shield to Swordmaster and Defender. They sped up the light attacks and they added a third hit to the light attack chain. So I want to stop right there real quick, because we recently in one of the articles they released, it was a couple months ago, I think, one of their updates, they started talking about how they were adding chains to weapons, light attack chains. And the sword only had a 2-hit chain, and then the hatchet and the rapier both had a 3-hit chain. So now they have adjusted the sword to now have a 3-hit attack chain versus a 2. So what do you think about that change, right? And I know it's kind of hard to speak on a lot of this stuff, because these are all changes that have been made probably based on alpha feedback, and we haven't a lot of people haven't played alpha, so we don't really know how that's affecting the weapon now, because it's probably changed throughout time since the preview event. But what do you think about this, the light attack chain and adding a third to the sword specifically?
I like the idea of having different weapons have different, amounts of attacks in their chain. I think, these one-handed weapons usually, I think so far seem to have 3-hit chains, and then the heavier attacks have 2, which I think, is a good way to balance out the amount of damage that's being dealt in the chain. But we'll see, man. It really kind of, I guess, goes to show or remains to be seen, I guess, is that, what is the gap between chains, right? I think that's going to be the main determining factor on, do you finish out your chain, or do you stop after an attack or whatever. We'll see what combat feels like with these chain attacks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That was a big change they made. I think a lot of that was to counter a lot of the staggering that was happening, especially with the hatchet, because you could just spam light attacks over and over and over with no, with no pause in between. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. So the next thing here is the Swordmaster mastery line. So they moved leadership to the Swordmaster line. And if you guys don't know, you can go check newworldfans.com and you can check out what the leadership passive was. So the leadership passive was an ability that applies status effect buff to all friendly targets within 15 meters that increases damage output by 10%. Now, just as a quick side note here, New World Fans is not updated to include this new information from the new trees, because none of this stuff is really, the NDA is not up completely for a lot of this stuff. We know some of the abilities that are going to be on there, but a lot of the passives, a lot of the things they changed, we don't know what those passives do yet. So a lot of this information has not been updated, but when the NDA drops, Red, we are going to have a fully updated newworldfans.com website with all of this information over there. So you guys need to go check that out.
Maybe even a new
whenever it drops. Yeah, that is a very big possibility. Yes. So yeah, he does right now. That's okay though. So they moved the leadership
He's a nice guy.
to the Swordmaster line. Yeah, Taken's amazing. He's awesome, no doubt. So they removed precision, fine precision, keen blade, ultra keen blade, and killer advantage, which are also all passives, and then they added a slew of other passives to the sword mastery line, and we don't know what those are or what they do. It says the names of them here, but we don't know what any of the passives do yet. So they also adjusted reverse stab. Now, Red, this was a very strong ability during the preview event, and it seems like they buffed this. They increased the damage to 175%, and they removed the first swing from the animation. So not only does it seem like they made the animation faster, they buffed the damage too. What do you think about that? Because that was a strong ability during the preview event.
Yeah, it also, there's a little side note saying that if you land it, you get all sword cooldowns are reduced by 35%. So
Yes,
you know,
huge buff.
it's going to be interesting how this plays out, because we see a lot of changes on all the weapons. We're going to try to cover them for you here on the channel, but they're all reworked. So, you know, as reverse stab may have been strong in the preview event, it may be even stronger now, but how does it line up or measure up to the rest of the abilities? That's kind of what remains to be seen. I know on the podcast we made a point on how strong the fire staff was looking. It looks pretty crazy right now. So can, you know, this reverse stab keep up with the fire staff abilities? We'll see. We will see. But I love the changes, man. It does seem like they're overtuning these abilities, and I think, you know, with 2 weapons, with 3 abilities and the cooldowns and everything like that, I think it's fine, you know, as long as we can't spam them.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to be able to spam,
Right.
which, yeah, that would suck for sure. But like during the preview event, I used sword and board a lot, and I did the shield bash reverse stab combo, which a lot of people were doing because it was super strong. So I would assume that's going to be even more viable now. We'll see what the changes they made to shield bash here in just a second. But I would think that you could shield bash and go right into that a lot quicker, since they removed the first swing from the animation and do more damage and reduce sword cooldowns. It just seems very, very good. It seems very good. So they also adjusted Whirling Blade. They removed the current upgrades and added 2 new upgrades. So now Whirling Blade now has opportunity, which causes 20% rend for 5 seconds. And rend, if you don't know, it reduces your target's armor. And then Tactical Strike is the other upgrade to Whirling Blade, and it reduces its cooldown by 10% for each enemy hit. So it seems like Whirling Blade may be a pretty good ability to potentially go farm mobs with. Train a bunch of mobs around and then Whirling Blade into them so that you can rend them. And then if you're in a party, your other party members can do more damage to all of those mobs. And every enemy hit, it reduces the cooldown by 10%. So it's almost like you could almost spam that in like a farming mob situation. So what do you think about those changes, man?
Yeah, dude, I like the versatility in the tree. You know, I know that they've kind of tried to make it a point to have more purpose in each individual ability, have some sort of reason why you would have it on your bar. And I'm with you, man. Whirling Blade does seem, depending on the cooldown, does seem like a very strong AoE farming ability, which, I think it should be, I think there should definitely be multiple weapons that you can do that with, not just like the fire staff or something like that. I would like to see, a lot of the weapons be viable in sort of a, I guess maybe even expeditions AoE might be good. And then of course, farming mobs as well.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind is all of the new expeditions and the PvE content, all the new, instance dungeons. It seems like they're almost making abilities centered kind of around that more PvE style content, which, it could probably work in PvE as well, I would imagine, for large scale sieges and some other things. But it's almost like there's going to be, good abilities for PvE and then better abilities for single target PvP, which I think is fine. I think all that's good. So yeah, we now have Leaping Strike. They increased Leaping Strike distance by 2 meters and sped up the animation. So again, they're like speeding up the animation with these things. So that's a buff for Leaping Strike. They also removed its upgrades and added 2 new upgrades. So these things are just getting completely reworked, man. So now they have Final Strike, which if you hit a foe below 30% health, you deal 50% more damage. So it's like a finisher, which I like that a lot. They have Cowardly Punishment. If Leaping Strike hits a target in the back, it now causes slow, reduce target's movement speed for 10 seconds. So those are both pretty good, man. It seems like Leaping Strike as well is going to be a pretty decent ability it's going to be a nice finisher, and I like that, man. I used Leaping Strike a little bit during the preview, and it was a fun ability to use. And now you can jump further and the animation is better. Seems like the sword so far is getting quite a bit of love, man.
Yeah, I do. I like the utility there. If you hit him in the back, you get a different effect from the ability. I like the versatility there in the text or in the explanation of the skill. Dude, I all the weapons got love. I'm excited to see how these all flesh out and work out in a meta of some sort, because they've reworked almost everything, and the sword and shield, dude, I think, you and I both think it's going to, like you said, in the expeditions, I think it's going to be one of the the primary weapons of a tank, and you know, a lot of these attack abilities, you know, maybe can you be a DPS sword and shield guy? Maybe with these abilities, we'll see, dude. It's gonna be fun to find out.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on with this being the primary tank weapon, or at least so far, because listen to this next change. So remember, they changed the sword and shield to Swordmaster and Defender. So now we're going to move on into the Defender mastery line, so the other side of the tree here. So the Defender mastery line, listen to this first one here, man. This is pretty good, I think, especially for PvE, for expeditions. So added a new ultimate mastery. It's called Defensive Formation. So while blocking, you reduce damage to all other allies within 2 meters by 33%. So there you go, man. That's like the ultimate tank ability. You know, it's it's a pretty nice support ability for your allies there. I like it a lot. What do you think about that?
Yeah, group buffing, you know, group protection, dude. The tank. I love when tanks have those abilities that they can slot in that make everybody more tanky. You know, it's great, dude. I'm happy that they're going this path, honestly, with some of these skill trees, as far as like group roles, not just you know, damage or whatever. I'm excited to see how this works out.
Well, they're definitely kind of defining the tank role now. You know, I mean, if you're going to be a really good tank, it seems like there's certain weapons you're going to want to run. And before, during the preview, it really wasn't that way. It seems like now it's as they've been making these steps, this is just another step in that direction. So they removed incoming resistance, bladed fortitude, and instead they changed those. This is still with the Defender mastery line. Instead, they changed those with barricade shields named high grip. So I guess they just changed the name of a thing there. Yeah, of an ability. So there's not much to say there. So then we have Shield Rush. So they removed Refreshing Rush upgrade. They moved Intimidating Rush to the final upgrade. And again, if you don't know what these abilities are, go over to New World Fans, because you can see all of the old abilities there. And then whenever the NDA drops, we'll have all of these new abilities pushed over. So you can kind of compare and see what these differences are. So then they added a new upgrade, Improved Rush. So now on successful hit, all enemies within 5 meters are weakened for 4 seconds. So that's pretty cool. I didn't use Shield Rush a ton. I preferred the Shield Bash. I ran Shield Bash into backstab or reverse stab, and then I had Whirling Blade as well. So I didn't really use this a ton. Did you use Shield Rush a lot during the preview?
Yeah, I did, dude. I ran Shield Bash and Shield Rush, and then back reverse stab. Dude, you can. Okay. There's a nice stun combo you can do, and Shield Rush, obviously, or I mean, honestly, what I used it for was a gap closer. You know, you can close the gap safely with this ability, and yeah, I think it's a really good ability for, I mean, even tanking, because it adds some CC.
Yeah, nice. So speaking of tanking, here's yet another ability that pushes the sword and board into that direction. So with the Shield Bash. So now with Shield Bash, they added a new upgrade called Intimidating Bash, which greatly increases threat and deals 100% more damage. So now you Shield Bash an enemy and you're going to just draw aggro, which I think is pretty important for the tank to be able to do. So I'm glad they added something like this on here. It makes sense for the direction that the game is headed in, but now it also does a lot more damage too, 100% more damage. So that's I think that's a pretty good change, right? Yeah,
potentially. I don't remember it doing a ton of damage to begin with. So
it 100%
really of crappy damage is maybe okay damage,
still
or maybe
crappy.
It's still
damage.
Crappy, yeah. but you know, I'm glad to see that you know, they're making changes. Real quick, dude. What I meant on Shield Rush, the weakened status is almost a must-have for the tanks. I think that sort of utility is always welcomed in a group, and if you've got a sort of shield equip, I think you want Shield Rush for sure.
Yeah, I would think so, especially in like a dungeon situation, because having that
on a boss.
Yeah, exactly. Important. A boss having these types of utilities is really, really good. So now you have being able to reduce incoming damage by 2 meters, and you have the weaken. So you can generate more threat. Like, definitely definitely going down that they're really leaning heavily into the more traditional tank role now that we're used to seeing in a lot of other MMOs. So it's pretty interesting to see all these changes. Yeah, so the last thing we have here is Final Stand. So Final Stand upgrade now reduces damage by a flat 30% for 8 seconds. They reduced the cooldown from 120 seconds to 45 seconds, so there's a buff there. They removed Enduring Stand, and they added a new upgrade called Final Countdown. If your health is above 50%, damage reduction is increased by 20%, which is interesting. They added a new upgrade, Restoration, so you gain 15% health when Final Stand ends. That seems like a really good change, man. Yeah, I like the sword changes, dude, because of the whole tank thing, threat generation, and all the things they've added pushing towards a tank. This clearly defines tank now. It's no longer just you equip a sword and board for, you know, to just go fight, or because you like the abilities on the sword and board. You're going to equip a sword and board for a specific reason now, and that's going to be the tank. So it's pretty interesting, man. What do you think about the sword overall, man? All the changes, you think these are good, bad, ugly? What do you think?
I think good. Like you said, I think, you know, if you're running PvE activities or group activities or expeditions, I think it's going to be one of, if not the main tanking weapons. I still think that Sword and Shield is going to be very strong in PvP too. So, you know, I think you'll have people that equip this weapon for that reason. And obviously also in expeditions, the tank. So yeah, great changes. I would like to see how they flesh out inside of the, you know, the global change that they made to all the weapons, but I can't imagine this not being used very frequently in both activities, PvE and PvP.
Yeah, which in my opinion is exactly what you want. I'm glad you brought that point up, because we're talking a lot about how this is geared towards PvE in a tanking situation. But I agree, because some of these changes, man, I still very much think like what I was running during the preview would be something that I would still consider running with these changes. With the shield bash into a reverse stab does a lot more damage, and the animation is faster, and it reduces your sword cooldowns into a whirling blade. Like, I feel like that would be pretty strong in PvP still too. So I think you're right, man. I think this is going to serve purposes in both areas, which is exactly what you would want out of a weapon tree. I think overall the changes are great, man. I like them a lot.
I agree, for sure. I'm excited to get in there, dude, and try them.
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you very much. We will be probably covering all of the rest of these here on the channel. So if you enjoyed this video and want to hear about all of the rest of the changes to all of the other weapon trees in the game, which was literally every weapon tree in the game, make sure you subscribe. And if you enjoy the content, please hit the like button and ring the notification bell so you can get notified when our next video goes live, which is, well, it's 5 days a week. Every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. CST, a new video hits the Studio Loot channel. So thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, and make sure you go check out New World Fans, dude. There's lots of big things coming over there for release. It's going to be awesome. Yes, Taken, you are the best. We'll see you guys later. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.